Welcome to Cheating Stories Star. Tonight, Daniel discovers that his wife's divorce request is hiding a much darker secret involving the doctor he once trusted, but what he uncovers goes far beyond an affair. Let's begin. My name is Daniel. The night my wife asked me for a divorce, I already suspected there was another man. I just didn't know who he was. We were sitting at the kitchen table. 2 cups of coffee were getting cold between us. Emily kept twisting her wedding ring around her finger. She had been quiet for almost 10 minutes. Then she finally looked at me. I think we need to talk. I remember looking at her and thinking, here it comes. She took a slow breath. I want a divorce. For a few seconds, I didn't say anything. I wasn't shocked. Not completely. Something had been wrong for months. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. I looked at her and asked the question I had been avoiding. Is there someone else? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The way she looked down at the table told me everything. His name was Dr. Adrian Cole, and the worst part was that I had trusted him. I was the one who had encouraged Emily to see him in the first place. Emily had started seeing Adrian about a year earlier. She wasn't feeling well. She was constantly tired and complained about headaches, so I told her to find a good specialist. That's how Adrian entered our lives. At first, I thought he was just her doctor. Nothing more. Then the appointments started becoming more frequent. Every Tuesday evening, usually around 5:30. Sometimes she wouldn't get home until 8. Whenever I asked why it took so long, she had an answer ready. Dr. Cole wanted to go over some test results. Or, the clinic was really busy. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. Then little things started bothering me. She began taking her phone into the bathroom. She changed her password. She would sometimes smile at messages and quickly turn the screen away when I walked into the room. I noticed. I just didn't say anything. Maybe I was afraid of what I'd hear. One evening, she was getting ready for another appointment. She stood in front of the bedroom mirror fixing her hair. Then she changed her shirt twice. I watched from the doorway. You're going to the doctor, right? She looked at me. Of course. I nodded. Okay. That was all I said. But something had changed inside me. I no longer believed every answer just because it came from her. A few days later, I saw a message on her phone. I wasn't snooping. The phone was sitting on the kitchen counter when the screen lit up. The message was from Adrian. It said, I wish tonight didn't have to end. I stared at those words longer than I should have. Then I put the phone down. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was embarrassment. I thought about all the times I'd defended her. All the times I'd told myself I was imagining things. I could have confronted her that night. Instead, I decided to wait. I wanted to know how far this had gone. I started keeping track of her appointments. Not obsessively, just enough to see whether her stories matched reality. They didn't. There were appointments she never mentioned. Calls from Adrian's personal number. And one Friday night, she told me she was spending the evening with her sister. She wasn't. I found out later that she had checked into a hotel. With Adrian. That was when I stopped hoping there was an innocent explanation. I didn't want to make a scene. I spoke to an attorney first. Then I had a financial investigator look into our accounts. That's when things became much stranger. Money had been moved from one of our investment accounts. Not a huge amount, but enough to make me curious. The money had gone into a private trust. The paperwork had been prepared by a law firm Adrian had recommended. I stared at the documents on my desk. Why would my wife's doctor be involved in our finances? That question kept bothering me. So I kept digging. Eventually, I discovered that Adrian had a financial interest in a medical consulting company. Emily had been sending money there, and some of the transfers had happened shortly before her meetings with him. The affair was real, but it looked like there was more to it. Much more. Then I found a hotel reservation from 3 months earlier. 2 names, Emily and Adrian. I sat in my car with the document in my hand. I remember thinking, so this is who she became when I wasn't looking. But I still didn't confront her. I wanted one final piece of proof. I gave her a harmless piece of false information. I told Emily I was considering selling part of our investments. I wasn't. I just wanted to see what happened. 2 days later, Adrian contacted our financial advisor. He asked about the exact investments I had mentioned. Only Emily knew about them. That was enough. I finally knew what I was dealing with. Then 3 days later, Emily asked for the divorce. We sat across from each other at the same kitchen table where we'd eaten dinner for years. I don't think this marriage is working anymore, she said. I looked at her. Is it because of Adrian? Her face went pale. She hadn't expected me to say his name. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, I didn't want you to find out like this. I almost smiled. Like what? She looked down. I reached for the folder beside me and placed it on the table. Hotel records, bank transfers, messages, the financial documents, everything. Emily opened the first page, then the second. Her hand started shaking. Daniel, don't. She looked at me. I can explain. I don't want an explanation. Her eyes filled with tears. I love him. That sentence hurt. But strangely, it didn't surprise me. I nodded. Then you should have told me before you started building a life behind my back. She cried quietly. Then she asked, why didn't you stop me? I looked at her for a long time. Because I shouldn't have to stop my wife from choosing me. She had nothing to say to that. The divorce was finalized several months later. The financial investigation continued. Adrian eventually faced serious professional consequences after the evidence was reviewed. Emily tried to explain what happened. Sometimes she blamed herself. Sometimes she blamed Adrian. Sometimes she said she had felt lonely. I listened for a while, then I stopped. Not because I hated her, because I realized I didn't need to understand every excuse she had made. I only needed to understand my own decision. I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life asking why she betrayed me. People make choices. Sometimes those choices reveal who they really are. One afternoon, I found our wedding photograph in an old drawer. I looked at it for a few seconds. We looked happy. Maybe we were. Maybe we weren't. I used to think that photograph represented everything I'd lost. Now I see it differently. It was simply a picture of two people who believed they knew each other. I put it back in the drawer. I didn't destroy it. I didn't need to. I had already moved on. Emily thought asking for a divorce was the moment she finally chose her new life. For me, it was different. By then, I had already accepted the truth. She wasn't the woman I thought I married. And once I understood that, letting her go wasn't revenge. It was the first honest thing either of us had done in a very long time.